In the beginning of the story, we see Eve sitting in the police station with a wounded condition and a sad face. Eve has a ballerina toy in her hand, which is dancing. Now we see a flashback in which Eve is seen dancing with David on a beautiful island. Actually, David is teaching her to dance. David says to Eve that you have learned to dance to a great extent like your elder sister, but now you have to continue your hard work. After this, David gifts her a beautiful ballerina toy. Moving forward, we see that it is nighttime and David is washing his hands and face in the bathroom. In the meantime, we see some tattoos on his back, which show David's relationship with the Roma tribe. Then we see that some shooters come out of the river and are shooting people on that island. These shooters have come to take Eve with them. These shooters enter David's house. David, present in the bathroom, feels danger, and he carefully goes out with a towel lying nearby. That's when he sees those shooters. He drops a shooter through the towel and throws it aside. The innocent Eve sitting in the room hears these voices, which scares her. David takes out a red smoke can from the closet nearby and puts it everywhere. Now the whole house is filled with red smoke. This technique of his comes in handy because the shooter's view is blocked. David quietly takes Eve away. But that's when the shooters enter the house. Eve hides behind the wall, and David comes forward and fights them violently. David quietly calls Eve after defeating all the fighters and hides her behind the bookshelf. Now, once again, there is a fierce fight between David and the shooters, but this time they succeed in bringing David down. Then the shooter's boss comes in front of David. He tells David that you betrayed us and took over what was not yours. We gave you our daughter, but today she is not among us because of you. After that, he takes out a gun from his pocket and says that now you have only two options. Either you kill yourself and your daughter will live, or I will kill you both. Eve, who is hiding behind the bookshelf, sees all this. David grabs that gun and puts it in his mouth and loads it with rounds. Eve, who is hiding nearby, is scared to see this and shouts immediately. Hearing all this, all the shooters become smart and start running towards Eve. That's when there is a fierce fight between David and the shooters. Meanwhile, the boss leaves from there. A shooter is targeting David. As soon as the gun is loaded, Eve immediately reaches there and picks up the gun on the ground and shoots the shooter. Now David and Eve are leaving from there. David is shot, but he does not give up and takes Eve out of the house. As soon as they leave, a bomb is blasted there, and the whole place is destroyed. David and Eve now reach outside, but because of the bullet, David loses his life. All this happens in front of little Eve. Now Eve is in the police station where Winston comes to her and asks her if she wants to live a normal life or would like to live with her father's family in Roma, like her father. Winston takes Eve to Roma, where she meets the director of Roma. She asks him if she wants to avenge her father's murder, to which Eve says yes. Now Eve is handed over to Nobi, who is responsible for training Eve. On the way, Winston gives Eve a gold coin for the bravery shown to his father. After this, Nobi tells Eve about Kikimora, that just as there are two sides of this gold coin, there are also two sides of Kikimora, one in which he saves you, and the other in which he takes on a very dangerous form to defeat you. Eve was practiced to become a perfect ballerina to make Kikimora. In the next scene, we see that Eve has grown up a lot, and she is practicing ballet. Eve was a good ballerina, but she was not a perfectionist, and the director wanted to make her a perfectionist. That's why she tells Eve to turn on one foot again and again, but Eve falls on the ground every time. This was the reason that Eve's fingers were completely stained with blood, but Eve is very brave, and she was ready to overcome every difficulty. Over time, we see that Eve's training is not limited to ballet. She is also doing wrestling and shooting, and as she walks, she is gaining control over her shortcomings and becoming a better version of herself. Now she has achieved perfection in ballet, and she is becoming very capable. Now a task comes to the ballerina that reminds her of the events that happened in her childhood. In front of her, another student of Roma sitting on the table comes and sits. In front of both, a gun that has not been assembled is kept, which has to be assembled as soon as the timer starts, and the person sitting in front has to be killed. As soon as the timer starts, Eve starts assembling her gun, and she prepares her gun before that girl. Without any hesitation, she shoots him and succeeds in this task. After a while, Eve gets her first mission in which she has to save a girl from a gangster without taking anyone's life. Nobi gives Eve a gun that is made of bullets and rubber. Now Eve reaches that club and stands at one place and keeps an eye on that girl. That girl is having fun dancing in the club. Then the gangsters team comes and stands in front of that girl. Seeing this, Eve immediately reaches there, and there is an explosive fight between her and those gangsters. Eve injures everyone with her rubber bullets and knocks them down. Then she notices that her boss is pulling that girl away. She immediately runs after her and saves that girl by injuring her with her rubber bullets. With this, Eve has also passed her last test of becoming an assassin, after which the same angel tattoo is made on Eve's waist, which was made on David's body. Eve has now become an expert assassin, and more people give her such tasks in return, for which she is paid a good amount. Performing a task like this, Eve kills a man. On the way home, her car accident happens with another car. In anger, Fire Bubble Eve comes out and starts fighting with that man. Seeing that man's fighting skills, Eve realizes that he is not an ordinary man, but a professional fighter. Finally, skillful Eve kills him. Suddenly, she notices that there is a familiar cross mark on his wrist. Then she realizes that this is the same cross mark that was also on the body of her father's killer. Then she cuts his hand and takes it to the director and asks the director the meaning of that cross mark. She also tells that this mark was also on the hand of her father's killer. Without telling the director her intentions, she quietly leaves the room and goes straight to Winston. Eve asks Winston for help, but Winston tells her that it is very dangerous to mess with that tribe. Then Eve gives that gold coin to Winston, seeing which she realizes that it is time to take revenge. And Winston gets ready to help Eve. Winston gives Eve the biodata of Daniel, the son of the chief of that tribe, and tells her that he will go to Daniel and ask about his father. Winston also tells Eve that Daniel is staying in Hotel Continental. Eve now reaches Hotel Continental. Then we find out that there are many more people in the hotel to kill Daniel, for which they will get $4 lakh. Eve succeeds in reaching Daniel from the back road, not from the front. As soon as Eve reaches Daniel's room, Daniel fires a gun at her. Eve tells Daniel that my purpose is not to kill you. Then Eve says that my father lost his life because of your father. That's why I need information about your father and that tribe. Then Daniel says that many people are after my life because of my father's association with this tribe, and then he wants to spend a happy life with his daughter. Then we see his innocent daughter behind. They are still talking about the sudden attack on Daniel's room. Daniel asks Eve for help to save his daughter. Then Eve, together with Daniel, drops all the goons down and leaves with Daniel. Below, they find more goons with whom Eve and Daniel fight bravely, but in the end, they succeed in downing Eve. On the other hand, Daniel is going with his daughter that someone shoots Daniel from behind and takes Daniel's daughter to the tribe chief. Because of breaking Eve's rules and killing people from Hotel Continental, Eve says that her purpose was only to meet David. Then the shooters spare Eve's life and shoot everyone else. After this, Eve goes to a gun shop where the owner of the shop illegally provides guns to the assassins. Eve was sure that that man knew something about this tribe, but that man is not ready to open his mouth in front of Eve. Suddenly, there is a strong attack on his shop, but Eve and that man survive that attack. During the attack, Eve's bravery impresses that man, and then he tells Eve the location of that tribe. Without wasting time, Eve leaves for her destination. On the way, she gets a call from the director who tells Eve that she is not doing right by going there and is breaking Ruka Roma's pact with their tribe. Eve had now reached that city, but as soon as she stepped, she realized that this was not an ordinary city. In fact, every person here was part of the same tribe that she was looking for. She walks through the streets and enters a cafe. There she falls on a ballerina toy kept on the counter. There was something in that toy that aroused old memories in her. She was looking at the toy carefully that the atmosphere suddenly changed. People started running out of the cafe in fear, and then a man attacked her with lightning speed. That man was very strong, but Eve defeated him with her skill and courage. But this was just the beginning. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a new video.